You're on, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. First, Happy New Year to everybody who's joining us tonight. And first thing I'd like to do is my apologies. We were scheduled, I'm sure most of you know, for last Thursday. Unfortunately, a little bit of the flu bug. And so unfortunately, we had to reschedule till today. So I'm hoping, despite rescheduling, everybody can still join us. And if not, they'll talk a little bit about that later. We're going to record the session. So on behalf of Beth Thor, the Culture Club, everybody want to say Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and thank you for joining us tonight. We've got some special stuff that we're going to do, kind of centered around the New Year holiday. So in general, we're going to just kind of go through piece by piece, like we're putting together an entire meal. Start to finish, from I don't say soup to nuts, but we've got a soup on now that we're doing different this year, and a salad, and a cake and a dessert all the way through. So along with the entree, and the sides. And again, most of the ideas were feedback that we got from you guys on stuff that you guys wanted to see. And I say guys is a gender neutral term. So all the great feedback we've gotten, and we listened to it all. So a lot of this we got from folks. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And as usual, if there's other things that you'd like to see, please let us know. And if you do have any questions, you can, I guess, post them there in like the chat. And then Brenda will help us with them. And then, because you may have the same, 3 or 4 people might have the same question. So if you post it on the chat, she'll read them to us, and I'll be more than happy to. Or if it's not too many folks, I'm not sure how many people are there. You could probably just speak out, and we'll be able to do the best we can. So, okay. So for time wise, again, we've got an aggressive schedule with the brisket too. But one of the first things we're going to work on is the first recipe is the roasted butternut and squash in apple soup. A little bit different, of course, we're having the apples for the new year. But the roasted squash, I think, is going to give us a nice flavor. Just a little bit of a tweak onto an old school recipe. And it's relatively simple to have the squash. And again, what I'm going to do is just split this in half lengthwise. So notice, to be safe, what you want to do is start to cut is put the tip of the knife through, and then very carefully, and then come down this way, kind of a guillotine, and then split. That's the safest way to do it. Don't get cut. Right on the board, and splits open in half quite easily. These pop off, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull them off. And then what I'm going to do, thank you, is very quickly just kind of go around in a circle, and I'm going to scoop these out. And I'm going to 86 the seeds. So I'm going to throw them out real quick. So
You want a suckle?
that's right. Okay. I'll pull the rest out. There you go. So again, we're just going to pull these seeds out, get them out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just lightly coat them, give them a brush with a little bit of olive oil so they don't overly dry in the oven. And then it's going to go in the oven with our apples. And again, it's going to give it a nice roasted flavor, kind of a caramelized flavor.
I have a question, Mark. How do you know if the squash is ready?
It's going to shrivel considerably.
No, I'm
and it's
talking
going to be
when you're
much
buying
softer.
it, is it hard? Do you look for softness or?
Yeah, usually a squash like this, they're usually very, very hard. And again, if you want to skip the roasting, you can. You can chop this up, literally flip it over, take the skin off, and put it directly into the pot and cook it.
Okay.
The thing what we're doing a little bit different this year, thank you, is by roasting, I think it gives it a different dimension of flavor. And when you're roasting something, you don't use any water, so some of the flavors kind of, so I think you're going to get a great flavor. So then what I'm going to do is just set this aside. And then the next time I'm gonna do is our apples real quick. So if you wanna peel them, the easiest, right on a cutting board like this. You don't have to hold it in your hand. You can peel them. And then again, some of this, because they turn brown easily, what we do is we wait until the last minute with most of this, especially the items. It's called enzymatic browning. If you have a lot to do, you can peel them ahead of time, probably put them in a little bit of water to keep it from browning, and or a little lemon juice. You just have to be careful that with the lemon juice, you might give it too much of an acid flavor, so you want to be careful with that. But you can soak it in a water, and as long as you keep the air off, then it'll retain. It won't brown too quickly on you. So if you have a large party, a lot of people, and you're doing 10, 12, you can do them in advance and just stick them in water. So what I do is just come around, do a quick peel. And again, if you like the peels, you can. Later on, we're going to put this into we have a blender that we're going to use. If you have a stick blender, that works as well. And if you like it, you can. The peels, though, the reason we're taking them off is you would have to probably strain it because the peel isn't going to break down with the heat process. So let me get this off. So you can add them in, good fiber, good flavor, but you're gonna have to strain it later. And then what I'm gonna do is cut that in half. And then again.
See how to core it.
Okay, then I'm gonna do, again, you could either do it, you make just a nice angle cut this way. And then I take just an angle this way, and just take the core out completely. And then you have two pieces there. I wanna remove it. One, you can cut it out, but it's easier. Take it like this, and or just a small cut to the side, and it just takes us out. I put it down on an angle, slight angle, and then it comes out. So
I'll take care of that.
Okay. So then I'm gonna do is go ahead and place these on. Then I'm gonna cut this last one quickly, and then we'll get them roasted. Okay, same thing, a little bit of an angle. You get a little slight brown spot on this one, so just shave that piece off. Same thing here. Here. And by laying it flat on the counter, if it slides, again, it's a beautiful looking apple, and it had a little bit of a brown spot. That happens. They say when you're buying fruit, it's a gamble. You don't really know until you cut into it whether you're going to get a good one or not, And then, so what we do is we're going to lay it down here. Then very, very quickly, we have a little bit of olive oil. I'm just going to brush the top and the side. And that's to keep it from over drying out as we have it in the oven. And I'm going to put this in a 375 oven. And it's going to go for about 45 minutes. And then it's going to soften up. It's going to brown nicely. And then later we're going to take it back out, and then we're going to finish the, this.
No,
Okay, so this is going to go into the oven. About 375 oven for about 45 minutes.
yeah, no, it should go. It's fine. Back to here. Let's see what he's going to do next. Okay. Oh.
What do you?
The timer, 45.
Oh, I don't know how to use the timer.
Okay, I put it on 45. I just don't know how to start it.
I have no idea.
Wait a minute.
I have the timer over here.
Okay. So yeah. So then we'll keep. Okay. So that's the first item. The next one we're gonna do something very very common for Jews and for Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, pomegranates. So again, with our menu, we have some pomegranate seeds and juice in some of our items. So I'm going to show you kind of quickly how to go ahead and clean and cut one of these. I do hear from a lot of people that have some trouble with them. Easiest is to set it down on a flat board, take a knife and just kind of trim the top carefully. All right. You see they get a lot of juice into them. So I've got a container for the seeds. And then what you do is just turn it inside out, and most of those seeds are just gonna go ahead and drop right in, as far as this top piece goes. And then what you wanna do, if you look at the pomegranate, it has pockets. So what I do is just take a knife and make one small cut on this pocket, one along this one along this one. And here, usually there's 4 to 5 pockets in each. So you can see from the inside where those are. And then what you do is very carefully open it up. And then kind of crack it open a little bit. And then, like I said, I've got a large bowl. So what you do is open it up. And then I have a pot, a spoon. And then what I do is just hit it like this on the top. And 90% of your seeds are all going to come out very nicely at the bottom of the tin. And a few
interesting the way
have flown out, but it's not too bad. And also make sure you get a pan slightly larger than you need it, because they do kind of fly around a little bit. But as you can see, a lot of them are already out into the bowl. Yeah, so I might pull this little center piece. And then what you want to do at that point is you get most of them out that way, but you don't get them all. So what I'm going to do is cut it quickly.
How do you get the juice?
Well, the juice typically is going to come out as soon as you break the seeds. So I didn't quite get them all out. So here.
You want to measure?
Actually, no, I got them. And again, so normally they would go in, and I'm gonna, okay. But again, this is probably how you typically open them up, and you get them all out. And you just smack it with the back of a pen. Now you do get some of the white pith sometimes inside. And what you can do in order to get rid of it is you can put a little bit of water and then just kind of fill it up with a little bit of cold water. The pith, this white pith, will float to the top, and then you can pick it off easily. The seeds will sit to the bottom of the pan. So all you do is a little bit of cold water, and that will help you get the pith, the white part off.
Interesting.
But you don't do that till you take the juice out, right?
No, but again, the juice for me comes when we're gonna process them. As soon as we process the seeds, the juice comes out.
I see.
So we have to grind them and process them for the juice to start to come out. So normally for the juice, then I would take this once all the pith is out, then that would go into a blender, maybe a couple of drops of water, and then you got pure pomegranate juice.
You've got paper towel there.
Just some seeds, yeah. You know. So, and again, if you want, I can cut the second one.
I'll take it.
Okay. So anybody have any questions on the pomegranate, on how to clean them?
You can ask, since there are only 6 people, so you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about writing it.
Anybody have any questions, please let us know. Okay. Now, some of those are a little brown, so I'm not gonna push them all out. All right. Okay. So then you don't have to come, I'm just gonna put a little bit of cold water. We'll see quickly.
No,
Okay, sorry.
well, I have filtered water.
Okay. And again, it was just kind of a rinse. So, all right,
Still have, right here is filtered water.
okay.
Does anybody know if there's a blessing to be said when we eat pomegranates during Rosh Hashanah, or is that just with the apples and the honey?
Well, again, with any new fruit of the year, you can do so. And again, but usually if you do something like that, typically you just do it the first time you have like a brand new fruit of the year. You could do a small, again, motzi for it. And you can see most of the stuff floats to the top. And then I'm just gonna pour that off, and that's gonna take most of the pith. And then we're just gonna pour this off.
Since I have juice and seeds, you don't really need to do another one,
Yeah, okay.
just for the time.
Okay, so that's we wanted to demonstrate how to do a pomegranate That's something I think everybody does, you know, for the holidays. So we have it there. And then again, you're gonna see later on, we've gone ahead and got some of the seeds organized because we have some in our honey cake and also in our vinaigrette. So you're gonna see that again just a little bit later. Okay, next thing we're gonna work on is our honey cake. Our honey cake, and again, we're kind of going by length, projects length of time. So on everyone who's got the recipes, ready to go. So
Yeah, but I'll start giving you stuff.
yeah. So again, what we do is our oven, we've already heated up and got it ready to go. And then the bun pan.
Okay, be careful.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull it because I don't want more to fall either.
You want to start with the eggs or you
Sure.
can start with the pan?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get that ready. And have any extra sugar, I can use that.
Yeah, I have it. I have it.
So for this one, we're using a bun pan. And it's definitely first we're gonna give it a little bit of a quick spray. Okay. And then with that, we're gonna do is just place a little bit of some granulated sugar inside and then mix it around a little bit. And then that's what's gonna help keep it for make it non-stick.
Okay.
So
Just.
that's okay. So while we're doing that, okay. So here's our granulated sugar. And again, what you do is just sprinkle it into the pan. You know, and then what you do is just kind of keep going around in circles until you get a nice coating.
Can you do that with brown sugar, please?
Can you? Yes. Absolutely.
And I want to ask you, the spray you use, is it vegetable oil or is it olive oil?
Vegetable. Because I mean olive oil would work, but that would give you kind of some flavor. Yeah, with the flavor. So you may not necessarily want that in your cake. So yeah, this is just a plain. And again, you can olive oil, you can a vegetable spray. It's a regular Pam works
That's
as
high
well.
enough for the
I'm
sugar?
gonna go now. This last little bit that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna finish, but I'm gonna do this in the sink, so I'll make a mess on the table. But I can go a little bit higher. Actually, let me try here out by the cutting board. And you notice I'm kind of holding my hand to the edge, and that's just gonna give this top rim. And again, this is basically just gonna give us a nice little outside crust, some flavor, and also it's gonna help us to keep it from sticking.
Interesting.
Okay, so that one's kind of ready to go. And now we're gonna start putting everything together. So we've got our eggs. And so we're gonna go here to the mixing machine.
Be careful.
You have
Yeah.
to turn around all the way
Yeah,
around.
but I don't want
Spin,
yeah.
okay.
this.
Okay, so
Just don't forget to plug it back.
Yes.
we're gonna put our eggs in. Of course, like everything else, be careful, you don't want to get any shells inside. So drop our eggs in, we're gonna start the machine. And then so, I've got the splash guard on. Okay,
Just press the button.
which one on? Right. So, you want to get them started? Okay, so we get this a little bit more speed. This is the honey. This our oil. Slow, steady, straight. We saw pomegranate juice. So again, we're getting it nice and whipped up, nice and slow.
What is this? What are you putting? What is this? Italian sauce? Okay.
Some sugar. That's why I put the splash shield. So all our liquids are going to go in first, and then all the dry ingredients that we pre-sifted are all going to go in last. And then I'll slow the speed down quite a bit, and then we'll add all the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to do slow down. Now let's go to like the low speed, number 1. And again, so that, you know, the flour doesn't fly out all over the place. So we'll incorporate it nice and slow. So we have all of our flour, salt, all the seasonings, everything's ready to go. So now I'm just gonna slowly put this in, baking powder, baking soda, everything's in. And slowly gonna add it in. Got all the dry ingredients in. And then I'm gonna just pick up the speed a little bit. Get everything incorporated. And then we'll be ready for the oven. And then with this, normally with any kind of cakes or anything like that, once you add something dry, what we'll do is go all the way to off. Okay, what I'm gonna do is just lift this a little bit with my splash shield. I'm gonna lift this a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is always scrape down the bowl so you can see all the way down the edge to the very, very bottom. And then we get everything nicely incorporated. So you go all the way to the very, very bottom of the bowl. Make sure that it gets incorporated. And then you can use your whip this like this to get off your spoon. I'm gonna sit this behind me. And then this is gonna go back down for about another minute or so, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so it's finished. So this will lift up. Okay. So then I'm disengaging my whip. What I do is just tap it to the side. And then my screen. Yes, please. I'm gonna just do this here. And we're gonna go to the pan.
Okay.
The pan.
Okay, so. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do is just pour it in.
Not in the hole.
Is that supposed to go there?
Not in the hole. Okay. And stop. You see gravity will work with you. So then, typically, with most cakes, anytime you're working on, once you put your batter in the pan, and then with any cakes, it works. What you want to do is take your pan, tap it a few times on the counter. You'll see very carefully, you see some air bubbles coming. So this keeps an air bubble, makes them come to the top so you don't get them trapped inside your cake and you have those holes. See this little air popping? Okay, a few times and we're ready to go right into the oven. Okay, so our oven is preheated, 350 degrees. Our cake is in.
Okay.
All right.
How more at the time?
Okay.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions with that before we move on to the next item?
Please, is it possible to have written the recipe? Can we get the recipe in detail?
Did you?
Yes.
I don't understand the question.
She wanted the recipe for the
We
cake,
sent
am
the
I
recipe.
correct?
We sent it.
In the
You can send it
email
again.
that you got, the
Okay,
recipe should be
sorry,
there.
sorry. I didn't pay attention. I'll do
Oh,
that.
okay, if you don't have it, get a hold of Linda afterwards and she'll be more than happy to send it to you.
Thank you, sorry.
So 50 minutes before we look or look a little early?
5 zeros, you set the timer?
But
So-
no, yeah, I don't need you to.
Okay. Okay, so the case going, so the next item we're gonna do very quickly is the holiday brisket. And we have a before and after, so we're gonna work on that one. So basically, we got a beautiful brisket. What we're gonna do is just trim it quickly. Now, one thing I've noticed on a lot of recipes, I'm just gonna brush off the sugar. Oh, it's pomegranate.
Take the other one.
Okay.
There's another.
Okay. What happens that I noticed myself as a chef, that a lot of times when people, they talk about they're cooking briskets, they just throw it in the pot the way it is, all the vegetables in the liquid. Basically, all you're gonna do is get a gray piece of meat. So really, for some good color, you gotta sear off the meat. That's number one. To the flavor, as you're searing the meat, you sear the sugars and the proteins that are in the meat, and that drastically changes the flavor. So it's like night and day. So it's super, super important. Now, again, I trim a lot of the fat off, which is what I'm gonna do now while we're talking. But you want a little bit on there, give you some flavor. But again, you don't need too much of it. But again, you gotta sear off that meat. And I noticed whether you're doing a regular pot roast, or even if you're doing, you're cooking some meat for a beef stew, you gotta brown off your meat ahead of time. Because if not, it's just gonna have a gray mass, which is not gonna look very, very good. So again, you notice I'm pulling. Now this piece of brisket that we have here, this is called, it's got a few names. First cut also the flat.
Mhm.
Now the point is that top, that decal piece, which is a little bit fattier. So most people go with this bottom piece. It's a lot thinner, much leaner. And you notice I'm pulling a lot of the additional fat off. Now we're still gonna get some good flavor, but you can see now in trimming the meat, I'm hoping you're watching very carefully. You notice I always cut away from myself. Okay, I never cut toward myself, always away. So if I slip, my knife's gonna literally slip away. I'm not gonna cut this way, okay? And so you wanna be super careful. And again, a nice sharp knife. And actually these knives are Linda's, they're here. So I don't want you to think this is some magical chef knife. It's not. I didn't even bring tools. So I'm doing this with regular tools that you would find in your home. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, the chef's got like a special knife or anything. We're using regular house tools and things
But
that you
you
would have.
sharpen them.
Sharpened, absolutely. We sharpen them for sure. But other than that, there's nothing magical about it. So, and again, I'm removing a lot of this, and my cardiologist will agree. It's not going to be any good. Going to be a little bit in there for some flavor, because there's definitely flavor and fat. But we don't go too crazy with the fat. So trimming it off. That's pretty good. I got a little bit still on there. It depends. Me, I like most of it off. And again, there's going to be a lot of good flavor in this meat. So, and again, let me see. Bottom's looking good. Okay.
It's hanging over.
Okay. So, and again, notice I'm picking it up with my fingers and trimming away. Never toward my fingers. Also, if there's a spot you can't get, roll the meat in half. And sometimes you're gonna get a little cross, flat, make it easier for you to
I
trim.
never would have thought to do that.
Right.
Yeah, most people would lay it flat, but if you roll it a little bit, like this
I would
piece
have
here,
I would have struggled with it.
you roll it a little bit and you can just skim it across the top.
Amazing.
Okay. And here's the thing too, I mean, you could buy it already done by your butcher, but you're gonna get off, you know how your family likes it, whether you like it a little bit leaner, you know the health of your family, so you like a little bit left it on, that's fine. If not, you can take a little bit more off if it's a problem. But usually this is pretty good here. So we'll discard this very quickly. And so now what we're gonna do is just give it a little bit of salt, pepper, all that great stuff. Gonna go right on top. We have the Dutch oven that I've already placed on the stove, and we're preheating. So again, the salt,
That's onion powder.
onion powder, a little bit of pepper.
That's salt. And this
Okay.
is pepper.
Okay, so
And I have
and you know, so
onion powder.
I'm doing one side. So I'm pushing everything in real well. Is our
This is the
pepper.
oil, that's it. Just
Okay.
the oil.
All right. Now what I do is, even though we got a little bit of schmaltz on this, we put a couple drops of oil in the pan, which is our brazier, the large one. So I'm just gonna,
How long do you have to braise it for?
now basically until it's cooked. And that's kind of hard to say.
Okay.
When you have a piece of meat, I mean, everyone's oven is a little bit different. Also, again, we're searing the meat. Usually a piece this size, 2.5 hours is plenty of time, but you'll need to check, after maybe 2 hours, go in there and check and see if you can remove a piece, is it coming apart or anything like that. And then if not, you can always leave it back in for another half of an hour or so, and then let it finish up. So again, I've seasoned one side, and I'm gonna lay it down, and then I'll season the other side.
Ah, that side first, okay.
Okay.
Let me-
And it's fat side down. And a little bit of olive oil just for sticking. And so again, the first part that I seasoned with the fatty side, I place that down. That'll render some of that fat. Also caramelize it. Give it some nice flavor.
Get out of your way.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, okay, so this is the other part of the black pepper, the salt, we had onion powder, all those good things. Yeah. And then we're gonna leave that sit for about, it could go 6 to 8 minutes, maybe more. I have it on
Okay.
kind of medium heat. And again, so I'm gonna do is, so we're gonna keep moving. And then in a few minutes, we'll flip it over, get nice color on the other side. And then we have our carrots, our celery, our onion, our tomato product, and the beef stock that we're gonna put in there. The beef stock, you'll see, I'll bring it to a boil. As soon as we're done, the lid goes on, and the entire brisket is done in the oven.
Okay.
100%.
Oh, okay.
100%.
Okay.
So, while that one's cooking, we're gonna let that one go, and continue. Okay. Change boards. Okay. So while that one's cooking, then we're gonna go to the next project, is the kugel. Luxion kugel. Okay, perfect. So kugels, these are the really, Luxion kugel. I love it. It goes great with the holidays. Again, if you don't like it as sweet, there's a million different variations. I know people that have even they just do it in dairy. They'll put, well, you can use cottage cheese. My husband used to use farmer's cheese.
Right, that's what I use.
Which I like better because
Yeah.
it doesn't have like the flavor,
Right.
but the cheese. Also farmer is great for blintzes. Love it. And I also love it with like a baked ziti.
Oh,
Kind of use it like a ricotta cheese. If you don't have ricotta, to me that works out very nicely. And again, so you can have it I've seen so many different Luxion kugels. You can almost do it almost in any variation. So again, what you do is the eggs go in first, you get them whipped up, and then along with the other ingredients. So these are sweet in nature, so a little bit of a shell. It even happens to me occasionally. So the eggs go in, give them a good whip. Now, the only difference with this one is it's got a little bit of oil in it. So I emulsify the eggs with the sugar, the oil, and it has a little bit of vanilla. Okay, a pinch of salt goes in.
You want the sugar?
Sure, please. Okay. Sugar. That's okay, and then it goes in. And again, a lot of this, you can make alterations. If sugar's an issue, you can use some alternative sweeteners. I know there's one, I think it's like from monk fruit or something, which is a pretty good sweetener that you can use. Okay, this is our vanilla. Again, it's whipped up, not quite, but on until it's nice and smooth. The oil is added in slowly. I whip it in.
Melted butter.
Good.
Melted margarine.
So we have also melted margarine. So I'm going to show you how to incorporate it. So if it's a little warm, you don't scramble your eggs. So what I'm going to do is, this is kind of cooking. So what I'm going to do is, while we're working, just kind of give our brisket a flip, put some color, and I'm going to take a look at it. Can you see it? Got some nice brown color.
yeah.
Okay, so we got some nice color there, and that's how I want the other side.
Okay.
And so back into the pot, and we're back to our lunch and kugel.
Especially to see that.
We're good.
So we have a little bit of some melted margarine. If you want it milk-thick, you use butter. So whatever you'd like to do. And again, most of the recipes that we're doing, we use margarines and non-dairy. If you want to go ahead and make it dairy, you can. So you can always make alterations. All right. So it's whipped in real well. Now, two things. One, fruit or some type of fruit always works out well. Pineapple is typical. I know some families use the fruit cocktail, canned fruit. My dad used to love that stuff, so it goes straight into the liquid, mix it in, and then the luxury. And with the liquid, so this is some great flavor there. Then mixed well. And again, per the instructions that we gave everybody, is you take your 12-ounce package of wide egg noodles and then just cook them. However you like them, al dente, you cook them. And then it was what we've done here. And then side, and then the noodles go in. Carefully cooked. These are pre-cooked and drained. So.
I they were hot, so I put them in an ice bag.
Okay, and when they're
So they
chilled.
wouldn't overcook.
Yeah. Okay. And then for size, what I'm going to do is put a little more here. And I'll mix it.
12 ounces is too much.
Well, yeah, it's usually that's how they come in a 12-ounce bag. Now I'm going to go from the whip to a spoon, and then I'm going to mix all of it together.
So, should I get a bigger pan?
No, I think it's going to fit in nicely.
Okay.
And again, we had actually talked about it earlier, the size of the pan, 8 by 8, 9 by 9. It just depends on how thick you like it. So again, here I've just taken a little bit of that, mixed it all together. And then I'm going to do is just pour that on top of here. And then we're going to all mix it together.
Sink in.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Okay. And again, so you want it you don't want it too thin. That's why the 8 by 8, is kind of thicker, but it's going to cook down a little bit as it goes. But you don't want it too thin unless you like it very crispy, So again, mix it all in real well.
If I had a bigger bowl, would you have mixed the whole thing in the bowl?
Commercially, yeah. But again, yeah, we usually have bowls way too big than what we need them for. This fits fine. For home, this is perfect. This size fits perfectly. Normally, yeah, I would have a big bowl, mix it up real well, but maybe I'm kind of on the sloppy side, and then pour it into the finished dish. So, but again, you can see this is nicely done. I'm going to pat it down. Everything's mixed in well. Okay. So there we go. And then that we're going to pop into the same 350-degree oven. So this is going to go in. So I'm going to kind of open and close it quickly because my cake's in here. I don't want to leave my oven open too long. You can see the cake. See how it's blowing up nicely? So I'm going to slide this in kind of quickly and we'll close that door back up.
Okay.
Okay. So while we're here,
No,
what we're going to do is throw the vegetables in.
Oh, okay.
And I know I got good color on both sides of this brisket.
Yeah.
It's nice and brown. Also, too, I don't know if I've mentioned this maybe in a previous cooking one or not. Seasonings are fat soluble. So you need to get them in there with a little bit of fat in there to get them started. So veggies go in. You don't really need to brown the veggies, so no worries there. Just kind of get them into the pot and the pan. Then a little bit of tomato paste, tomato product. Okay, I like to put this in. There we go. Pull it out. So we'll put it in, and I'm going right into the pan with the paste. I'm going to brown that a little bit of color. Tomatoes, I think, give it good color. very good flavor. And also it helps the acid and tomato sauce break it down and make it a little bit softer. So with that, you see I have it in the corner, and I'm just gonna cook some of this paste for a minute or two on the bottom of the pan. Then I like to get a little bit of color. It's gonna heat up nicely. Now also I have a little bit of garlic that's gonna go in as well. And I put that kind of toward the end because you gotta be careful, you wanna burn the garlic. Here's our garlic. The garlic goes in. I like garlic's good for you. All right, a little bit of a mix with the veggies. Okay, now I'm gonna bring my temperature all the way to high, and we're adding our beef stock. Then I'm glad I mentioned stock. When we're finished cooking the brisket, the liquid that we're left with is actually it's considered a broth. And the two differences, there's one is a stock and a broth. Now, a broth is a flavored liquid derived from meat. So whether it's fish, chicken, beef, makes no difference. Now, if you have one that's from bones, meat with bones, that's called a stock.
Right.
Because that's going to have like a gelatinous material to it. And it's going to actually thicken. That's where gelatin kind of comes from. So that's the basic difference between the two. Sometimes it's interchangeable as far as the names go. You'll see it, they'll say broth, they'll say stock. I've seen it in the store. But typically in our business, to be called a stock, it has to come from bones. And again, it doesn't have to have a lot of meat on the bones. You can just be beef bones, and you roast them with tomato product, carrots, celery, and onions. You add water, and that's how you make from scratch beef stock.
Okay.
And again, normally if I just have my brisket and I put in, say, water or something like that, I'm making a broth. So really that's the difference in between. I know I get a lot of questions from people on the difference between a stock and a broth. So again, what I'm going to do is I've got the liquid in there, but you can see this beautiful color, even with that with the meat is giving this nice broth, a great color, and it's going to have some really, really good flavor. So now I'm going to bring it to a full boil. Then the lid goes on, and then it goes directly into the oven. And again, that will maintain a boil. You want to keep it at least 350 degrees. And the oven will keep that at a simmer the entire time. So I bumped it to high, just to get it to a fast boil, and then it goes into the
Can
oven.
use those.
Oh, yeah, to carry it. Yeah.
They work.
Okay. And then the lid goes on. It goes into the oven, and then you could use an instant read thermometer. You could use a fork. Normally, what you do is if you reach in there with a fork.
That's right.
If you reach in with a fork, you can tell whether or not, it's done. If it slides off easily, it's ready to go. If it kind of sticks to the fork a little bit, like I'm using one of these, if it sticks to the fork a little bit, it needs a little bit more time. Slides off easily, don't worry about it.
It's time to take the squash off,
Okay.
or at least to check it.
All right, so what we're going to do is check the squash real quick. We're going to see with the color.
Let's go from here.
You can put it right on the,
Okay, I don't burn your board.
you've already got the board.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see it's got a nice kind of soft, and you can tell I got my knife here. See how easily it's kind of going to the veggies. I know the apples are soft. I have no doubt of that one. So what we're gonna do is just let that cool a couple of minutes, and then that's gonna go into our blender. That's we're gonna get that going for our soup. All right. So anybody have any questions with that?
You want to put it on here?
Yeah. So I'm going to do set it to the back for a few minutes. I'll let that to cool, and then we're going to move toward the simmis and then finish this back up. Okay, almost boiling. So the next item is our carrot simmons.
You wanna stick that in the oven, the brisket? Or not?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's boiling now. Nice, it's got a nice boil. So what I'm gonna do is cover my pot for a couple minutes. That's gonna increase the inside temperature and the pressure. Couple minutes, and then I'm popping that right inside.
Okay, you ready for simmus?
Yeah, simmons is
Okay,
next.
so. So. The lower oven.
Okay, I've got a room in the top. I can pop it in the top.
Up to you.
Yeah,
The racks aren't set up for it.
okay. Okay, Lynn, you wanna get the door for me?
Sure.
I wanna keep it minimal, because our
What's a
cake,
sous chef for?
the cake is looking good, so I want minimal.
Oh, because the,
Oh, I
it'll do
couldn't-
it, wait.
Okay, I'll move it,
I'll do it,
Okay.
The photo went the wrong place?
Yeah, I put it in the wrong spot.
that's right.
Okay. Okay,
Simmus.
10 minutes. Okay. So, and again, on this one, what we've done, so that we get everything done on time is of, Linda's pre-steamed the carrots and the sweet potatoes, we're getting all that out of the way. So we got that ready to go. And again, this is one where you start from this spot and then move forward. So again, steam them off a little bit. Then to that, what we're gonna do is just take in a bowl, we're gonna make a slurry. And a slurry is anytime you use a cornstarch, a potato starch, anything of that nature, it's called a slurry. So what you do is you place a little bit of it in a bowl and you add some liquid. So again, we're using some orange juice for this particular dish. So the cornstarch goes in. Okay, then what we do is take our liquid, pour the liquid in, and then stir it up to make a paste. And that's going to be our thickener. And this prevents lumps. So what you want to do is put this in first, mix it real well. And you can see, it's almost like, even like you're doing Chinese food, and usually with Chinese food, you mix it with a little bit of water or a little bit of soy sauce. Here we're just mixing it with a liquid that we're going to use with the dish anyway. So. Again, carrot simmons, it depends on how you like it, where your family's from, all the good stuff in it. We get a little bit of honey. Of course, it's the new year for the Rosh Hashanah, so we add like a little bit of honey. Also, very classical side part for it is prunes or fleimen. That is a very typical dish used with it. If you don't like them, that's okay. You can leave it out altogether, or you could use dried apricots if you don't like it. Any type of dried fruit. You could throw pomegranate. If you got some extra pomegranates or anything like that, you can throw them in there. So typically, I just steam in, and after this is mixed well.
Now you didn't say how much salt and pepper, so you just have to add it.
Yeah, so normally with this, I put a small pinch of some salt and pepper with it. So small pinch. Again, it's kind of a sweet instead of savory. Typically, I'll use a little bit of white pepper instead of black pepper, so I don't see any like dark specks. Sometimes with the black pepper, it's good flavor, but it'll have specks. So the lighter the fluid or the food, lighter, I'll use the lighter colored peppers. So I'll mix this in. Again, this is poured on top. I've got the spoons in here, so we're gonna mix this real well together. And we're gonna bake this in the same 350-degree oven, get ready to go.
What happened to Peppy Pie? Because the stuff has to cool.
Yeah, okay.
We're out of sequence.
A little bit, okay, and then we're going right to the soup after this.
Yeah,
All right.
because we could have been doing the saute.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so kind of ready to go. Slurry, everything's ready to go. We just pop it right into the oven and bake it. And it'll cook together very, very nicely. And then this one. So.
You're gonna have to
Yeah, with the soup,
follow him.
yeah.
Okay, so for this one, for the soup, again, there's a choice where you can, this is just some carrots, celery, and onions we're gonna sweat as the base for the soup. If you don't want to roast the vegetables, you don't have to. Again, you could just clean them, put them right into the pot. And again, I'm just gonna stick these straight in. Okay, carrot, celery, onions, which is called a mirepoix, and that's usually a base for soups, sauces.
Oh,
Good question? Okay, so in the instructions, I put in there to sweat the vegetables, and basically what we want to do is keep them translucent, which is no color. So you cook them nice and slow. Again, now we got it going. We got the pot heated up and started. Again, once we get it going, I'm gonna turn this to low, and we just want to get them to where softened but no color. So that's why we use the term commercially to sweat your vegetables. You want them translucent, so I'm gonna go down to about a little less than medium. Put a couple of drops. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. And this is the garlic again, but I'm careful. Garlic is great. I love it. You just don't want to burn it because it'll have a bitter flavor. So garlic goes in. Okay. And again, you notice I got it on almost real low fire. We're gonna let that sit, and then what we're gonna do is clean. Now we're gonna remove all of the. Actually, I can work on it here. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna clean the. We're gonna get the meat out and everything, and then get this started. So. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this into we've got a blender. So what you can do is take your knife, split this in half. Okay, then what you do is take very carefully, just kind of roll it over, and you see the skin will come off very easily. Now that you've roasted it, you see how easy the skin comes off. You can peel it with your fingers. Okay. And again, you can do this from the raw steak, put it, just clean it. You got to clean it first, and then take this and put this right into the pot. And again, you could use water. Water works, but water is not going to give you any flavor. If you wanted vegetarian, you put in vegetable stock. Okay. On this one, I think we're using some chicken stock. So again, you can change those flavors any way you like. And then this goes right inside. Same with the next piece, flip it over. The skin pulls off.
I screwed up. I didn't look at the time when we put in the cover.
Okay, it'll tighten up.
About 2 minutes.
Yeah.
No, the cover.
Oh,
I'll see it when we do it, so. So again, what it is
10,
trim,
10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
15,
about 10,
gotcha.
about 10. Okay, so then when it is, pull all this off. And again, so you can change the stock. Water always works. The only thing is water doesn't add any flavor. So that's the only issue with water. So these are our apples. We're going to put those straight in. And then I'm gonna clean this last piece. And you notice just by having a little bit of the olive oil keeps it from drying out really, really badly. The squash. So again, if you need to, you can peel it. Usually you let it cool a little bit more. It's still kind of on the warm side. So I'm using my knife to help trim it. Okay. So anybody have any questions about the squash up until now? Okay.
they're good students.
Good students. Okay. Good. Again, if it's a little too hot, you can, slow down, wait for it to cool for a few more minutes. Okay. And most of this pulls right off.
This one.
Okay, yeah, we'll slide it off. So then we're gonna just slowly remove this skin, and then we'll process this, and it's gonna go right into the pan with our vegetables after, and then we're gonna cook it.
So the vegetables don't go in, get pureed?
You can on the back end. Initially they don't, just the squash and
With a little broth.
and a little bit of broth. Yeah. And
Broth
so,
is to your right.
okay, let me write this for you. Our cake should be pretty close, huh?
850.
Okay. All right, so we've got
10
this.
more minutes.
We're gonna put a little bit of broth in. This is gonna help it puree. Okay. A little bit more. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put this right on the blender. I'll pull this out. You can see it. Okay. And then,
Always keep the hand on.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
A little bit more.
Marta me dijo que le gustó mucho el honey cake que le di. A todos les gustó. ¿Mm?
Así es. ¿Estás viendo la cocina ahora?
Sí, ahora está haciendo una sopa.
Es un cocinero.
Sí, es un chef que contrataron. Y entonces está
You know what?
haciendo.
I think we're gonna go ahead and add the vegetables now, just to save a couple more minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this in. So we're gonna save just a little bit of time. And it's just gonna go back onto the stove.
Me dio hambre. Vos tenés tu comida en la mesa. Ah, muy bien.
We add a little bit more stock. And of course, lid in the hand, so we're not, doesn't fly. All right, so you can see it's got a nice puree, nice and smooth.
Mhm.
So it's gonna go back into the pot with a little bit more stock. And it's gonna go back in here. Yeah, please. Yeah. So soup's gonna go back in. And then what we're gonna do is add a little bit more stock to it.
I would put the stock in the blender and
And we're gonna just let that
wash
warm
out
up.
what's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. Good idea. Let's do that too. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is add a little bit more here. We're gonna blend up all the good stuff inside, and then we're gonna pour it inside the blender for soup.
Is it that one?
What do you need?
Name of the blender.
Rinses, so to speak. Watch, I'll show you. So again, I'm just using that. All right, I did half of the cleaning.
Yeah.
Half the cleaning's done. All right, so.
Does the squash get a little bitter?
I think when you roast it, that takes the bitter flavor out of it. Now again, we're gonna simmer this for a good half of an hour to an hour. And then that's gonna take a lot of that flavor. And then, of course, we're gonna adjust it. We'll salt, we'll pepper.
Do you taste it now?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I think it's good flavor. Definitely needs some seasoning, some salt and pepper. But again, I like it. I think it's got a nice squash flavor to it. Kind of, really reminiscent of the beginning of the year. So a little bit more stock. So we're gonna bring that to a boil and then simmer. And then I'm gonna do is a little bit of salt and a little pepper.
Okay.
A little salt, a little pepper.
Like pepper again?
Yeah, please. And again, the lighter the item, the lighter the pepper. Perfect. And then we'll let that just kind of simmer. And you got a nice soup. So we'll let that cook.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Fine,
So
yeah.
anybody, any questions? Okay, let me get this out of the way. Wash up very quickly.
Think so.
More salt.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Put a little more in. So we'll bring that up to a boil and then we'll simmer. I'm gonna let that simmer.
Okay.
Let that simmer. Okay. So,
8:50 for the cake.
4
so
minutes.
should be what, a couple, a minute or two?
We have 4 minutes on the cake, and actually, the cake, the kugel, and simmers are almost all at the same time. Cake and kugel same time,
Okay.
simmers 2 minutes later.
So what do you got left?
Okay, we got the slaw.
Okay.
So I guess what we'll do is we could do the vinaigrette portion of it first. And then we'll put it together. And again, we don't want our apples browning too much for us. So what we're gonna do.
They're lemon already.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna rinse this. I'm gonna show you how to cut a small shallot, which is an onion, French onion. Used a lot in Europe, not so much in the United States, but great light, delicate flavor. Okay, so first things first.
Basil.
And the basil. So first things first, we'll just peel it. Do a small cut here. And you'll notice it has almost a purplish look to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull this off. And you notice I've kept the back side. I didn't cut this side yet, and you'll see why in a moment, why I didn't cut that on purpose. That's gonna help me hold it together while I slice this. So again, they're simple, easy, just peel them. And then to cut a shot like the same as what you want to do is just take, follow the lines, make a small cut there, small cut. And then after you cut this way, lay your knife there, lay your knife flat, make a small cut this way, make another small one this way, and a small one this way. And you notice this is holding the whole thing together. That's the reason it didn't fall apart, reason I didn't cut that originally. Then with your pinky and thumb, bring the whole thing together, this, and then just go straight down. And that's how you get a real fine mince shells. Then notice I wipe always away from my hand. And again, there's a couple pieces. And that's how you get very, 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 very fine dice. So that's the first thing that's gonna go in for our vinaigrette. You notice I'm picking this up very carefully, using the knife. You keep the knife flat on the board, you can't get cut, and it will pick up most of the ingredients. Then the next item we need is a little bit of chive. So I have it here. So what I'm gonna do is just split it lengthwise,
Excuse
this
me,
piece.
is that too wet looking?
Looks like you could use a few more minutes, yeah. I don't have, normally I would take a toothpick.
I have to.
Okay, we'll poke it and see if it comes out wet. So what I do is split that one and then this same thing, super thin on the chive. This is kind of a fast vinaigrette that you could use a light vinaigrette with all kinds of different meats, heavier meats, lighter. Now again, we're adding a little bit of pomegranate to it, to give it some more of a festive flavor. Okay.
Dry,
Hmm?
it's dry.
Okay, it's done.
We'll put it on the rack.
Okay. So then the chives are in. Okay, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we have some nice, beautiful, fresh basil. So what we're gonna do is you can pull a few leaves. Again, yes, some beautiful fresh basil. So you just grab some nice leaves. If you like a lot more basil, you could always add more. So I'll start with this. And then again, it's called chiffonade. What you do is lay the basil down, just kind of roll it up into a string so it looks like a long, round, and just kind of roll it up and then just shave it. Okay, it could probably be a little browner,
Okay.
just a little bit more. And the term in French is a chiffonade, is to shave. So you just shave that basil. It kind of goes in there. Now with most vinaigrettes, all vinaigrettes, of course, oil and vinegar is good. It goes without saying. What's a necessity is you need a little bit in classical vinaigrettes, uses a little bit of Dijon mustard.
Right.
And the mustard is kind of what holds it together, kind of a coagulant.
I think it looks like it needs a toss.
Okay. Yeah. You can. Okay. Yeah. Use a little bit more liquid.
This is
Is that cooking away or? Okay.
foaming.
Just use a little bit more liquid. Probably it was disproportionate.
Can we add
So,
something?
yeah, a little
Orange
bit.
juice?
Do you have a little bit? All right, so this is looking good. We just kind of mixed it up a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit more orange juice to it. It's a little thick. And then we're gonna pop it back in for a little bit longer.
So if we want to brown the kugel, if we turned up the temperature, would that hurt the brisket?
No, it's enclosed in the Dutch oven.
So it doesn't
So
matter.
yeah, you know, so for a short period of time, no, it's not gonna make much of a difference.
I shouldn't have turned off the oven, but I did.
Okay. So this we can pop back in. So we got that one in. So now what we're gonna do is we'll add our.
Okay.
So this is our soup, just gonna give it a little bit of a stir.
Show them. Let's see what it looks like.
Okay, nice,
Oh, that looks good.
this is smooth,
Mhm.
it's cooking down, it's gonna reduce, so those flavors are gonna concentrate. And again, I think the roasting, like roast vegetables, when you roast, you know, like Brussels sprouts, it takes the acid out of it. So it kind of mellows it out and gives it a nice flavor. So a little Dijon, and then we'll finish the vinaigrette.
Did you take them? No, I haven't.
No.
Give me 1 second. Where is- There's
Okay.
Dijon, oil, apple
Okay.
cider vinegar. You're done
So
with
here's our
these?
Dijon, yeah. Mhm. So again, just adding this in. Dijon, then a little bit of apple cider vinegar. So I'm gonna mix these two first. Again. Okay, and then we're gonna add our oil.
So we're also supposed to finish your brisket.
Mhm.
We're supposed to finish your brisket.
Yes, I'm gonna slice it. I think we've got some good time, right? On time?
We'll
it's
manage.
almost 9 o'clock.
Okay,
May I ask a question, please?
Sure.
yes.
What is the name of the cake you prepared? You called
Honey,
it,
Honey cake.
was this a honey cake really what you prepared?
Yes.
yeah, the only thing we did a little bit different is some pomegranate. To give it more of a like a Rosh Hashanah flair. But yeah, pretty much standard honey cake, except with the pomegranates. If
Okay.
you don't like the pomegranates, you can certainly leave it out. All right, so you can see this is our vinaigrette. It's done. So I'm gonna just set that to the side. And then what we're gonna do is we'll put our slaw together.
So. Yes.
So we're gonna go ahead and get that together. And then last but not least.
The pomegranate juice didn't have to belong in the vinaigrette?
Yeah, it's gonna go in. It's gonna whip in, yeah. So again, we got a little bit of our pomegranate juice. It's gonna go in for our vinaigrette. And if you like pomegranate juice, if you don't like pomegranate juice, you can leave it out. You just have a standard vinaigrette, just oil, vinegar, salt, pepper. So I'm gonna put a little bit of pinch of salt. Salt. This one you can use a little black pepper. It's already dark, so black pepper's fine. Already dark in color. Okay. And then these are the ingredients. So our apples, which are pre-cut, are gonna go in.
Yeah.
Our slaw, We'll go in. Again, these are done with shredded ahead of time so that we can get things done quickly for the demonstration. So, share.
Peppers, carrots.
Okay. I'm just gonna in some carrots. And then get a little bit of some green peppers, and we got some red peppers. Okay. All right. Yeah, mix it all up real well.
Want one of these instead?
Yeah, that'll work good. That'll work well.
Either one.
So we'll toss,
Or two.
actually, I'll use them to toss.
Those at the bottom.
Okay. We're tossing them all together real nice, and then what we're gonna do is add a little bit of the vinaigrette to the top. If you like a lot, a little, it's up to you. You can leave it sit. You can kind of serve this one right away. We've shredded things kind of on the small side. So we've cut them very, very small. Okay, one more time, I'm gonna give this another good whip. And then a little bit on the side. And then again, toss them all together. And that's a nice apple slaw. Goes to the side. There you have it. It's got a nice coat to it. You can normally, when you see everything, it's nice and shiny. You know, it's ready to go.
Interesting. It looked like you would have needed more dressing.
Yeah, and again, when you cut them small, you don't need quite as much. And then your salad's complete. I'll set that to the side. And then the garnish. So the next item we're gonna work on is the brisket.
You want to take a look at the cocoa?
Yeah, it's ready.
It's ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I can see the tops are already starting to brown.
We have the brisket gravy.
Yeah, I'm gonna slice the brisket, start the gravy. Okay. So I'm gonna do some of this out of the way. Move some of these out of the way. So what we're gonna do is we've got a finished brisket that we wanted to show you from that point.
What?
No, we're okay. Just move this other way. Can you help pull that out? Yeah, I might have a little too much corn starch. It's about fault on the measurement.
So this,
It's close. We got a few more minutes and then we can pull it. Okay, so what we've got here.
I guess that's okay. 'Cause it's from the.
Yeah, it's just some
pomegranate, yeah.
vegetables. I'm gonna wipe off real quick, yeah.
This was the radishes for
Okay,
garnishing.
yeah.
You know,
Okay, so we had some radishes that we sliced.
you know,
And that's the garnish for our salad. Okay. Again, nice and thin, and it just kind of sit to the top, and it kind of gives it a nice little, some color, some nice little flavor. Okay. Can you use this? I'm gonna put the brisket. You have a pan for the brisket? Something
yeah,
I can put in there? Okay, so the two things is whatever fits in. Okay, good. Okay, so what we're gonna do with the brisket is on the ingredients on the instructions when you cook it ahead of time, we put everything in the refrigerator, so you're gonna see the stock. And again, the broth actually is gonna come out like this, where all of the fat's gonna come to the top and some of the other stuff on the bottom. So this is the good center part with most of the flavor. But again, this is the best way to get all the fat out, because all you have to do is just pull this top off, take a small slotted spoon, and then all that fat's gonna come completely off the top. That's the easiest way to get all the fat out of a broth, a stock, or anything like that, is to let it come to refrigeration, get it ice cold, and all that fat will solidify.
Is that one?
Yeah, that'll work.
That's what I
Okay.
usually use.
So first things first, what I'm gonna do is, I guess we'll do roux.
I have, here's, do you, this is
You wanna
the,
do the roux, or the cornstarch?
well, up to you, I have them books.
This is flour or cornstarch?
That's flour, this is corn.
Okay, we'll do the roux. We'll do the roux one.
So you
Cornstarch
need
is,
a top for that.
it's this one, yes?
Okay.
Okay, that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is, I've got a little bit of, our margarine for the roux. So it's gonna go into the pan. And then this is a little bit of flour. So you wanna do 50-50, fat and flour. Half and half of the proportions. Okay, so what I do is I have the margarines melted in the pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the flour to it.
Not much depth.
I'm not crazy about it. Well, I don't like squash to begin with.
You don't like squash, so I'm like, okay.
Alright, so then again, and again, it should look like wet sand. So I'm gonna show you here, so you can see it in the pan. That's 50-50. This is a roux, half flour, half the margarine. I'm just gonna go back on, I want you to see it. So then what I'm gonna do is just skim off some of the fat. So what I do
Let me
is just
swing on
take
the
off
other
some of the
side.
fat. And I'm gonna pour it directly. into it. Okay. Again, what you do is pour it in nice and slow. And if you notice, and again, I pour it in cold, and you see the fat
Yeah.
stays to the container. So I'm gonna use it before it melts back in. And then I'm gonna do is just add it, basically here, just bring it to a boil. It will thicken, and then I'm just gonna cook it down. And then that's gonna be our brisket sauce. Again, this is just some of the liquid from the brisket that we'd cooked previously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring that all the way to a boil, let that cook down. And you can see our soup
Yeah.
is simmering nicely. So it's gonna concentrate on the flavors. Okay, and then what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and cut this brisket.
Okay.
We're gonna slice this, get it ready. So normally when preparing the brisket, you get your brisket ready, you bring it out. It's always best to do it a little bit ahead of time. So you can see, this is a finished cooked piece. Okay. So then what I'm gonna do is, it has a little bit of fat on the top, so you see a little bit of this. I'm gonna just take this off. Again, notice I'm cutting away from my fingers, not toward them. Okay. So just kind of shave that little right off the top. Take your time. Okay, then all that fat's gonna come right off.
But some people like it.
And again, if
Mhm.
you okay and your cholesterol is good and everything, yeah, you can eat a little bit of fat, no problem. If you can't, you can't. So again, tailor this to however, whatever's best for your family and their needs, But again, most of it, you're getting good fat in the diet. So you notice this is gone now. If you notice very carefully, you see the way the grain is running.
Right.
So typically what I would do is, and I'd spin it, see, it's kind of coming this way. and then on a nice angle against the grain. Make this first cut, then your second.
Very thin.
And you notice I'm also trying to keep it in order. If it gets out of order, it's okay. Nobody's going to be upset. But you'll see later when I go to pick it up, it makes it a little bit easier. So then when you're ready to go before your meal, you slice this ahead of time, and this could be an hour to 2 hours before dinner. Slice it like this. It's easier to cut it when it's cold. So certainly do this. Make sure it's cut all the way through. You know, slices. Then basically what I'm going to do is it's going to go into this Pyrex, this oven container. I'm going to pour the hot sauce on top, and then the whole thing is going to go in the oven, and literally it's going to sit there until it's dinner time. So when you're cooking, this is the easiest way to heat up the brisket, is to heat the sauce, everything together with the meat in one pan.
How hot should the oven be to do that?
Hold your food, it would be a minimum of about 150 is fine. And again, if you need it sooner, then you can turn up the oven. You know, you can put it at 200, 225. If you're done ahead of time, you just want to keep it warm. Everything's cooked. The sauce is done. So 150 will keep it nice and hot, ready to go, but it's not going to dry it out before dinner. Again, depending on how wide you go on your slices, slice the brisket all the way through. Good. You notice we're taking our time. Again, much easier to do when the brisket is cold. Okay. Okay. I got a couple pieces at the end. So what I'm going to do then is take my brisket. I've got my other knife here, larger knife. I'm going to just go underneath the whole pile very carefully. Lift it straight up. And bring it right in the bottom. This side, you kind of can keep it in one nice area. Keep it together, organized. Okay, this is some fat. I don't need this. And then again, depending on how large your pot is, then when your sauce is done, you got a nice brown sauce. Okay. So this is real hot. Let me. Put a little bit in some more. Adjust it. Again, you get a nice sauce, nice velvety sauce. And then what you do is just thin, pour it directly over your brisket, get it inside each of the slices. And then the whole thing goes back into the oven and just hold it until dinner. Wrap it, cover it, and then you hold it till dinner time.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So that's our brisket. So normally if we were doing dinner, we're not, of course, now, but you see the finished sauce, it's nice and thin.
Yeah.
One thing that we did do previously for a healthier brisket, what we did was we had some of the vegetables
I don't like prunes.
from the braising liquid.
I'm not a prune eater.
You would leave prunes out of yours, that's
Right.
You can pick around the prunes.
Look, it's colorful.
And so, like I said, so for a healthier brisket, if you don't want to use the roux, there's carrots, the onions that we cooked them in.
Mhm.
You can puree it, put it in a pot with a little bit of the broth, and then pour that on top of the
Okay.
meat. And that'll give you a healthier option if you don't want to do the roux or the flour, the butter, the margarine.
Okay,
Okay.
what we have left is
Okay.
the glaze on the cake.
Um,
No, it's cool enough.
maybe a small saucepan.
Yeah, I have that ready.
Okay.
Let's get rid of some of this.
Is it cool enough?
I'm not sure if it's gonna come out. We're gonna take a look, but you can see. Okay, yeah, it just came up really nice. It blew up nice, and
And it sunk.
yeah, it's always gonna happen. All right, so for our glaze,
I have.
okay.
Juice. Seeds. She's not filming you.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't realize it
That's
was.
okay. So that's the pomegranate juice. We're working
Okay.
on the glaze for the cake.
What is that?
The sugar.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sugar,
It's the confectioner's sugar.
Oh, okay.
confection of sugar. Yeah, this is the glaze.
You need another whisk.
Yeah, or actually a spoon will work.
I can mix this.
Okay. So the other liquid is a little bit of lemon juice
Mhm.
to go with that. Thank you. This is the powdered sugar. Gonna kind of whip that in together. Where it's too hot. This is just kind of a little bit of a festive glaze that we're gonna, cook down and put on top. Yeah. Okay. We're just gonna let that come to a boil. We're gonna pour that on top. Let that boil. Okay, and then we're gonna put. Let me get that. So what we're gonna do is right on top.
And hope.
Oh, beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Okay. Okay.
Second time the bun pan's been used. The first time was when I bought it to make something.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're gonna,
Really,
it's pulled out nice, and we're gonna add a little bit of that nice glaze. And again, we have some of these pomegranate seeds we're gonna use just to kind of garnish the top and the side.
They
And
don't go-
again, it's
They don't
still,
go in the glaze?
I could pour them in the liquid and then put them, and then I put some randomly along the top as a garnish. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, for color. So now we're just gonna let this boil, bring it to a boil, let sweeten up a little bit, and then we're gonna pour it on top. And the cake is warm, with the glaze is
Right.
warm, so it's gonna sink in nicely.
Okay, good.
The slaw is much nicer than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
And you have to let it sit a while, because when I
So the
first
flavor-
tasted it,
Yeah, the
Didn't taste
flavor,
right.
the flavor.
Yeah. Well, the
flavor
flavors
has to
need to
sink
marry,
in.
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotten better as time has gone on. So,
Like tomorrow morning is gonna be delicious. It's really boiling.
Oh, good. Want to kind of get that going so we can.
so that the cake is warm. That's. I mean, you can put the glaze on when it's warm.
Sure. Yeah. Just to speed things, I'm gonna put a little bit of cornstarch,
Oh, okay.
just a little bit. So we want you to see the finished product. Good.
Wow, that really boiled up.
Yeah, well, and again, you gotta watch it, but again, as soon as you move it off the heat, it'll stop. So it won't boil over, make a large mess.
How
And we're
thick
just
do you
gonna let
want
that
it?
reduce for a couple of minutes, and that's gonna make a nice glaze.
How thick does it get?
Not super thick,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, but again, like a glaze, a nice sugar.
You don't put it on the whole cake,
Okay,
so.
you can do it on one slice if you like.
Well, I'm just interested in how it tasted out.
Yeah,
Okay,
It looks so nice.
we
Maybe
can,
just 1/4 put it on, yeah.
okay, or if you want, I can take a small slice, put it on the side on a plate with a little sauce and leave the rest alone. Okay, got a small plate? There we go.
Do I have to split it?
no,
Do you have a plate?
you're missing a couple of them.
Do you have a plate?
God, that just is killing me.
So what we'll do is,
So I have a cake plate that has, well, a plate that has a handle in the middle. You could put
Right.
that right over the.
Yeah.
handle.
so what we're gonna do for finishing purposes. Again, this is still super warm. So what we do is lift this out, and if you notice, it's got a nice sugar glaze to the outside. So we can lay this out like this.
Was it done enough? It
It's a
came,
little moist.
yeah, the toothpick came out dry.
Because the
Yeah.
toothpick doesn't go all the way down.
So,
Okay, that's okay. It's gonna continue to cook. And then what we'll do is take a little bit of our glaze. Just got them on top. And then what you do is you put a few seeds in. And use some nice holiday honey cake.
Pretty.
Yeah, it is
So you
pretty.
can finish with a little bit of holiday cake.
It's not cooked enough.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
any questions?
okay. Should we take the spotlight off?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so it looks like Betty Jo and myself and
Is that Linda?
Linda's. But
That's it.
that's it.
Everybody else left?
Yeah, everybody left.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody, for
No
joining us.
questions? Yeah.
Yes, now you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear
Yeah.
you before.
I had it on mute because I didn't want to disturb you.
Okay.
I only
Alright.
see I see a quarter of your face, Brenda. Oh, now I see
I
your.
only have a quarter of a face left.
Oh, I saw it was like the one side of your head. Oh, God.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed it.
Enjoy, everybody. It was a beautiful evening. Enjoy
Thank
the fruits of your
Thank you.
labor.
Thank you for joining us,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you very
As
much,
always
everybody.
being-
Happy New Year.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Have a sweet New Year.
Mark,
everybody.
stay well.
Please send us any recommendations you want to see done in the future with some other feuds. Please, yeah, let us know.
Okay,
Okay,
take
thank you.
care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Yes.